Okay, what's going on, guys? Doing another live beat breakdown for you this week. So this week I'm really gonna just be going into this Freddie Gibbs type beat. There's a lot of cool stuff here. Like gonna show you how to like sample, make boom bap kind of like stuff, similar to what we did last week, but there are like a little bit of things that are different. Like a lot more drums in this one, as you can see, than last week. It was pretty simple last week, but this one's a little bit more complex. And I'll kind of like go into like I guess like the main concepts of like how to make a Madlib type beat or like a Freddie Gibbs type beat. So it's like it's a lot of like samples, cutting and stuff like that. Um, or at least like a specific type of sample that you really want to use when you're making one of these kind of Madlib type beats. So yeah, kind of going off of that, I'll just do my quick little intro here. Good to see you guys. It's week 24. We've been doing this thing for a little while now. We're like entering into the 6th month of doing this thing. So I'm grateful that you guys keep tuning in and that there's still like, some hype around this after 6 months. So I'm grateful that you guys have stuck with me from some of you from the beginning. So thank you for that. And looking forward to like keeping this thing going for the next like however long it takes, however long it is. But yeah, so we did the voting on my Instagram page. 50% of the votes got this for this beat, and I was kind of glad for that because I was pretty excited to do this one. This beat breakdown is like I haven't really gotten to break down like this type beat before. Like okay, like I probably wouldn't have done like a 21 Savage one either, but it was exciting to get this one. So like that you guys kind of agreed with me like which one I thought was kind of best. And obviously the numbers from the YouTube uh, matched with like what the votes were. So it's always good when like okay, the most popular beat is also like the most popular beat for like what producers want to see broken down. Um, yeah, so looking at that, uh, oh, one quick announcement. I actually just dropped my own project. I'll put it in the description below. It's called Dog Business. It's a bunch of like Jersey Club beats and Jersey Club vibes from me. So it's like if you want to see what I sound like when I'm singing and fun stuff like that, go ahead and give that a listen. If not, hey, you're here for this other content, so I don't blame you. All right, let's get right into this thing. Enough of the intro here. So I'm just gonna kind of like clear face this up, and kind of wrap this up with a little bow. So this week, guys, I'm going to be breaking down a Madlib type beat, Madlib Freddie Gibbs type beat. The first thing that you got to start off with is a sample. So this sample I chopped up a little bit. I'll play like the original sample if it'll let me. Yeah, so it's a cool vibe, right? So it's like so yeah, that's like what this sample really is just like it's the main thing. And the reason why it's like to me it's kind of like a Mad Lib style of sample is just because of the way that the vocals are, the way that that chorus is. It's got like a dark eeriness to it, but also like it pulls you in. Like it's like it sounds retro, but it's like chill, and it's like got like a little bit of like a mysterious vibe to it. That's typically like when I listen to like a Madlib beat, I know that he produced it not only just because of the drums and like sounding like that way, but it's just the mysteriousness of like all the samples that he uses. It's like always like very clear, like okay, this was a Madlib beat. This like is it's like very clear. So this sample kind of just spoke out to me like when I was looking through TrackLib and different stuff like that. I was like, okay, this is just this to me sounds like okay, I could make a Freddie Gibbs type beat or like a Madlib type beat with this, um, just because of the overall vibe. So to like get this in order though, I had to like kind of move pieces around and cut it and chop it in a certain way just so like I could not only get it to line up with the beat, but also to like line up like certain parts that I wanted. So like when I'm like chopping this thing up, right? So I'll just like drag one out all the way here, right? So it's like this whole phrase down here. And like some of it lines up, some of it doesn't. So like you hear that like really like kind of like middle gap part. I really wasn't digging that all the time. So I cut like another piece into it. So like when I like show you the real sample now, you can see. I'll mute this. Right? So like I basically what I did here is I just like cut this last little piece. This it's like kind of like a feeder from this last part right here. So it's not so like it's not so spaced out the way that I like it sounded over there. It's like okay, this is cut together so that I can get this to like sound more cohesive. Um, and that to me is like a key thing that you can really do. It's like when you're like working with any kind of sample or otherwise, you just want to like make sure it's sounding good, you know? It's like okay, it's like if it feels too drawn out in your first listen, it's probably too drawn out for the artist or like for whoever's listening. They're like, "Oh, well this sample kind of just carries for too long. There's not like enough cuts, chops. This is just like not appealing to the ear." So it's like when you chop something up like a little bit, like I didn't really like do a whole lot with this, but I just blended it in and like faded it so it like would seem seamless, but like made it like more the parts that I wanted. And then I added this at the end of the loop here. So that sample, right? Comes from like a different other sample pack. It's just like a loop, and it was originally stretched out for 80 BPM, and it was B flat. So like what I did to like get this to be an A major, right? Because that's what the scale of the sample is in. I wanted it to match. Like, oh, I really like how this is sounding. But I needed it like so that's how it sounded originally. I was like, okay, I kind of want this to be part of the beat because like whenever you like listen to Madlib or Alchemist kind of beat, they got this like dark, unique guitar in it sometimes, and it's just like oh, it just kind of takes you away, right? Like it's just like oh, this is like a nice like little break from it, and it's like it gives it like a lot of like energy. Um, so what I did is that I stretched it out, and then for the root note, I switched it to like A sharp, so B flat, A sharp, same note, um, and then played the A key. And because of that, it just like, okay, so it's hitting on the right notes that I needed to hit because it's no longer in B flat major, it's in A major because this was already a major scale from the notes that it was in. And then I just kind of like was able to fit it into time with the envelope and like just making sure it was a hard cut off at that point and making sure that like everything was stretched correctly. And a lot of the ways you can do that is just by like clicking in the envelope here and then turning down the attack, the decay, the sustain, the release, and putting up the hold. Now it's like it's with every pretty much every sample that you're gonna use. Generally, like we'll have that like for drums too. You just gotta like have it in that way so you can play it only when you want to play it. Yeah. Um, so let's see. Other than that, for the samples, I would just say like making sure when you're making your own, don't make everything so repetitive. Um, so it's like I have the same sample twice and then like more of like a longer one here with the guitar. So adding that extra layer of guitar changed it up. And a lot of like boom bap beats is the same sample throughout, or like then they add like a vocal chop for the hook or something like that. But like, keeping like one instrument there and not there really like will keep up the vibe. And if you're trying to go with a Madlib, Alchemist, Freddie Gibbs kind of vibe, then you want to like make sure it's like a really like eerie dark guitar over like a really dark eerie sample. Okay, so with that in mind, that is just the sample there. Now going into the drums, mute these. So with these drums, like I've got my typical boom bap vibe. So it's like if you've heard me like speak about it before, normally what I would do is like have these hit on the red, but I like doubled the time so I didn't need to do that. So it's now hitting on the gray or the white right here. So now it's like more of a regular style thing. So this would be like 140 or or like 70 BPM. And the reason I did that is just to kind of like keep the simple groove of like what Madlib and Freddie Gibbs and all those guys generally have, or at least Freddie Gibbs, the way that he's fallen. That's definitely just the way like I like to kind of do that. It's like okay, I can like because he raps generally pretty fast. It's like it's a little bit faster paced than like somebody like like Currency's kind of got like a slower draw to it sometimes, and not that like Freddie doesn't ever do that because obviously he has a collab album with Currency, but like generally speaking, when I'm like going for like a pinata, pinata vibe, um, like that's kind of like what you want to do. Um, and now like with the drums, it's like boom, 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 boom. You know, nothing like complicated with the kicks. So I'll play it with the snare. Boom, 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 boom. Just like that. Like pretty simple drum line there. Um, and the things that like I added along the way that are like kind of important to know are just like different like rim shots, different like snares or like different types of snares and such. So and the hi-hats, right? So this like I get like the standard like hi-hat, right? It's got that same groove that we typically always have the and how I like make this different, right, is just by using a separate hi-hat. On like some of those downbeats to kind of like give it that like more of a groove, that funky kind of groove that it has. Then also adding like open hats and like a like a how do I say it? It's kind of like a dribble snare. So like kind of like that. Then I'm gonna ride. Having all of that together kind of like keeps it like all those perks and random like drum shots and stuff like that really like add to the groove. And if you want me to go into more detail about it, just like hit me up. I'll like explain like why I would like pick that or not pick that. And like I guess like for your sound selection, it's gotta be like it's gotta sound like boom bap. You can't use like standard samples that you would like get from like a regular sample pack in this, just because of like it needs to sound kind of like Legacy. So like you got to get it to have just that like classic sound. So like if you get like a crate digger pack or like a or like one of the track web packs, or like if you get it from like wherever you get your samples from, look for something that's like about like a boom bap style. You could probably find like some free packs on Reddit for like a crate digger pack or like a boom bap soul like making soul kind of pack, and like it'll give you like like real sounding drums, not like drum machine sounding drums. Like a lot of these are like more like it's like a real kick and a snare, like real drum sounds. You know what I mean? It's just keeping the realness together with it. Next, I'll kind of go into the bass line here. And it just like they've gone over in a couple of weeks. I just take it to Sample Lab and then drag in this and then find what the bass notes are for my sample, just so I can like make sure I'm hitting the right notes and everything like that. Not that you can't just find it by ear, but like it does save a lot of time. Like if you're like cutting a sample, just go to sampleab.com and then just put in the drag in the sample, and then it'll tell you like what the root notes are, so you can like play your bass off of that. Generally speaking, that it's the easiest way to make sure your bass is like not sounding too off. It's not like oh it's not like as creative as it could be like with a bass line just because of that, but it's like it's helping you like stay in the lines. Like it's like basically like when you get a coloring book, it's just keeping you in the lines. It's not like it's like saying, okay, well these are the notes I know that this sample is hitting, so I'm not gonna have to like go in and like, oh, I can like make this crazy thing. You can make a crazy thing, but if you're like struggling like with your ear to like find the right notes, it's such a great way to like kind of like start, especially with like bass, because like you can't have an out of tune bass. It throws off the whole track. uh, but yeah, I'll play the beat out again, and then I'll kind of go into the song structure. So yeah, that's uh that's how that beat sounds. Yeah, and like to like kind of give it that vibe, like I've said before, you really just want to like emphasize that, okay, if I'm making a Freddie Gibbs beat or a Madlib beat or an Alchemist beat, I want to have this dark, eerie sample, basic like real sounding drums from like a boom bap kind of kit, and like making like boom bap drums like in the same style, like making it like sound like a real drummer would like be able to play this like on a live set, and like trying to like so like that's how you get the drum rolls, like the dribble snare, the double snare hit, just like things that the drummers would do, and like how it just gives it that kind of groove that is like undeniable. Like, oh yeah, this is boom bap, like for sure. It's just like it's like the one thing just to go boom, 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 like to have that like standard like beatbox style like drum and snare, like kick and snare kind of thing. It's a little bit different. It's like okay, you have that like as your core element, but then you're adding these little like rim shots, perks, and different things like that, just so you can get that like okay, it's a lot like it almost sounds like it's a sampled drum. Like you like took this from like a song in the 70s or the 80s or whatever you got. Like it just sounds like you like brought it all together. Because that's really like, I think that's generally what they do. They like chop the sample up, chop the drums up from a different sample, and like kind of bring it all together like that without using any of their own like, you know, drums or anything. Generally speaking, that's like you kind of want it to sound that way if you're going for that particular sound. Um, Now with the song structure, just 8 bars for the intro, 16 bar hook, and then we did 24 bar verse, and then 16 bar hook, and an 8 bar outro. And like with your verse, you want to take drums out. Mostly like the main way to be effective in like making it feel like it's a verse is like taking out the bass, taking out like very like random like perks or like hi-hats just to make it sound different. Like it's like if you have like 3 layers of hi-hats, it's cool to like take one out because it makes it sound like, oh, this is just like a completely different beat now. The beat completely switched up, but really it's just like you took out elements so like the common listener won't be able to tell like, oh, it's like a different sound. Like it was always there, but like now it's prominent. You know what I mean? So like that's like one thing you want to do. It's like if you want to like you want to keep your core elements, like you're kicking your snare almost always, and then like taking it out for like the rapper to kind of like have their emphasis, like the rapper or the singer to have their emphasis points, um, and then like kind of calling back to it in the right times, you know. Um, Now like mixing wise, I don't know that I like really did a whole lot with this because as you can see these long titles here, they came pre-mixed. They're from the track lib pack that I've been using lately. Just like doing different panning and stuff like that. The sample I cut up to like a certain volume and different stuff like that. Bass I like put a compressor on, but like the main thing, okay, so like I'll kind of go into this here. I just like to make it sound like more of like a legacy sample, right? I like put the like I started with the bass like telephone effect, right? And then I just kind of opened it up. So like I just changed what part was like raising the higher frequencies, so I wanted that higher mid presence there. And then like I also like I opened it up a little bit more just by like dragging out like the different like parts like here and then moving the parts that were also out like here just to get the same kind of sound that we had before. Okay. And then with the bass, just kicking that bass and low end up and then taking off the highs and then throwing it in my favorite compressor CLA2A and just throwing on the bass setting and reducing the peak so that it hits at -3. Those are like the main things that I did to kind of get the sound that we have. So yeah, that's what we got there for that. Um yeah, so that's pretty much what I got for you guys this week. Make sure you guys are I forgot to do this at the beginning, but oh well. So make sure you guys are leaving a like, subscribe, and hit that noti bell so you guys can get every little bit of my content here. Um, I also just want to like say, you know, thanks and make sure you're tuning into the voting every Thursday. It's on my Instagram stories. I'm gonna put it in the YouTube community so you guys can see it too. But make sure you're going over to my Instagram because that's where I'm gonna count the votes. It's just easier for me, so please do that. Um, and yeah, this concludes week 24. I'll see you guys again next week for week 25. And yeah, I'm just really looking forward to that. And good week of beats coming up. And yeah, that's how you make a Freddie Gibbs type beat. All right. Peace, guys. God bless. Thank you so much. All right. See ya.